And we're officially past 9 o'clock, so we're going to get started. I'm Tim O'Brien. I am the CEO and one of the founders of the Net Effect Contractor Advisors. Quick, brief background. We started this business 4 years ago. Previously, I worked in construction. I owned my own paving stone installation business for 15 years in the summers in Whistler, and then in the winters, snow clearing. I was an early adopter of technology. That was in the late 90s, early 2000s. I ran that business, and I had a laptop in my truck with a printer. I used Excel spreadsheets and Word templates, and I was able to print off things for clients. There wasn't a lot of use of email back then, so we'd still print things off and hand them to a client. But that was, early 2000s. By 2005, I was doing that pretty much regularly. Had an Excel spreadsheet for templates for estimating, etc. And so that was early then, but there are still contractors utilizing that same kind of methodology now. Our job at the Net Effect is to help contractors find really great software that works best for their specific business. And today I'm going to give you a run through of how we go about that process. Let me start sharing my screen. See if I can do that correctly. Slideshow. Okay, here we go. See how this lays out. I'm going to assume you're all good. We did a little test run, have a little bit of skills. So we know that good quality and properly planned and executed software is going to be a good thing for any business. And we've got some quote here from KPMG and a survey they did last year. And we know it's a challenge to find the right match and learn how to use it, train your staff, and set it up so it works for your business and ensure it's working effectively with other platforms like your accounting platform. But not everybody is up to speed. So Canadian construction industry needs to keep working to get up to speed on that. We see some of the benefits here in this survey by Deloitte, showing that reduced costs, increased profitability, and increased quality of product and service are the three of the top benefits from adopting new software. All that being said, we have our process that we take our clients through. This process is based on change management. And we start off in this cycle. You can see I've got the 6 different phases, and I'm going to take you through each of those different phases and what those look like and what those mean for our clients. Because in order to find the right software and deploy the right software, it's great going to a website, finding that specific piece of software, but making sure that it works for your business, it's scaled to your business size, it ticks off all the pain points. We like to take our clients through a process to ensure that we're understanding everything about their business and take them through this process so that it makes you'll see it makes a lot of sense. So we start off in phase 1 and we do an assessment of our client, obviously. So we look at a detailed agenda, and this is from our Monday.com board here, you can see. And we walk through a process to fully understand the business, the processes, digital tools, understanding who's who in the zoo. So a RACI matrix, what staff and what the management structure is, to see who's doing what and what your workflows are. And not just within project management, your overall business workflows, because just looking at specific micros isn't going to help us understand how to solve one problem if we don't know the full scope of what your business, how it runs, and how to manage that business. So next, we ask a lot of questions. We go through typically 2 or 3 1-hour or 90-minute meetings to really dig in to understand the complexity of your business. And as we go through that process, questions become more pointed, and because we really need to find the critical problems within your business that are holding it up. So we delve into each of your functional areas, and we look at right from the front end on client acquisition. So that's the beginning of the process of a client working through your business model. So how do you find those clients? There's obviously, we know there's a lot of word of mouth. There's a lot of good reputation out there, but digital marketing, traditional marketing, and advertising, how you manage those clients as they come through the door, or if they're calling you, do you have a phone system? Do you have a CRM set up? So do you have the CRM being a client relationship management software that specifically looks after all the calls and everything coming in and all the communication with your client? And then we look at on the front end, you've got tendering and estimating, how you do takeoffs, how you do your estimating. We look at how the software you're using to do that. Most people, of course, are typically using Excel, have a great template. I know of one contractor who paid tens of thousands of dollars for an Excel spreadsheet that were set up and already perfect for estimating. That's one way to manage it, and that's not unusual. Tender management, if you're a GC, we look at that. We try to understand better how you manage communications with your subcontractors, with the RFIs and all that front end process, or if you're a subcontractor, how you manage all the tenders that are going out. There's software out there for that, of course. And then we look at project management specifically, like if you're a general contractor in the commercial space, or if they're in residential, how many projects per year, how you manage and juggle all of that, how you look at everything from scheduling all the contractors, or you as a contractor, how you schedule your work on each job, how you schedule staff, change orders, task management, all your labor hours, progress billing, everything. We look at the whole process, and we need to do that assessment of your business to understand fully the detail of how you go through the work and who's doing it. And then, of course, we'll look at HR and safety, understanding how you're managing that. And then the finance side. So the back end, how you're monitoring your finances all throughout the projects and for your business, and what that looks like, what software you're using. Do you just have a bookkeeper? Do you have a finance team, depending on the size of your business? What software are you using? And are you using an ERP? So that's part of our initial part of the assessment. So looking into all these areas, we need to understand your pain points, and we need to understand the challenges for your workflows and your business processes overall. So we prioritize them based on bottlenecks and volume of transactions of that process and so on. So what are those first problems that you see happening, and then what are the problems that we see that are happening? Are you double entering things? Is there a poor communication? We try and find those pain points and those bottlenecks for you right away. So are there ways that we can immediately start to think about how we help that with automation, with integration between different silos? So you've got Excel spreadsheets on the front end doing estimates, and then you have to manually enter all the data into your project management, and you have to manually enter it all into a scheduling program, and you have to manually. How do we create automations to save on time, save on efficiency? The volume of those transactions, we call them transactions, how often you interact with software or just getting things done. That volume speaks a lot to where we see pain point priorities. So for instance, we had one client who the owner said, well, we really want to look at estimating software. That's our biggest pain point. As I got into it with the management and staff, we soon realized that the actual problem was not estimating and getting bids out. That was just the owner's problem, because that's what he felt he saw on a week-to-week basis. He was typically doing one estimate or bid every week or 2 weeks. But for him, that was all encompassing. Because they had, I think, 20 crane trucks that were off delivering goods to different job sites, there were 2 people managing all of that. with sticky notes and whiteboards. That clearly was a big part of their business. And if we could streamline and automate that business and give them good software, that was going to help them be a lot more profitable. So that was actually their pain point, because the volume of transactions that were happening within their business. So identifying where the pain points are and where the big transactions are. So current state, we need to understand what your tech stack looks like, we do some modeling of what that looks like, and we use a virtual whiteboard here, and it's called Miro. And this, you can see, is really, this is the way I ran my business 25 years ago, with Excel and Word. And then I had a bookkeeper, and they used the accounting software. I didn't use it at that time. But this is a very typical way to run a construction business, and a lot of businesses are running it this way, and they feel that it's a good way to run their business. They've been doing it for years. This is not the ideal state. Whiteboards, Excel, and Word. We look at the new construction software and how easy it is to deploy, how over the last 10 to 15 years, with the onset of the smartphone, with new software being easier to develop, we see that software companies are driving down into specific niches, and our niche being construction, that they're able to develop new softwares at a much cheaper rate, cheaper for the developers and the front end to build the business. And so now we see timekeeping software, estimating software, project management software specifically for the construction industry. Whereas 20 years ago, it was only the big players that could afford software that you loaded onto your hard disk and onto your hard drive, and everybody in the office would run it. Nobody in the field knew what was going on. Very difficult to manage, very expensive to use. We're in a different place now. We have very inexpensive software that's easy to use. So looking at building a model around that is what we're looking at, helping our clients find solutions for their problems utilizing good software. So this is another example of a tech stack where you're utilizing a lot of Excel, maybe, and then you've got some specific software for safety, for time tracking, and project management. And you actually have ways to do some transfers of data. You can see these lines drawing between stakeholder management and project management. So you have you've listed in Excel, and you have a CSV, and you export it into your project management, the details of the client. And then with your time tracking, you have an API that works between payroll and time tracking. So you've got a good first step, and you're fairly proficient. This is another model that we see a lot with some of our clients, where they've adopted some software but still working with Excel or with Word, and even sometimes having a whiteboard in the background. But they've started to adopt, and they're on their journey to digital transformation. So now this is part of the solution analysis. I forgot to mention that the second phase of the client success cycle. This is where we want to get you to. We want to get you to a position where you've got a good construction management software, and maybe some separate individual softwares based on how it works best for your business. Sometimes you can find one software that's going to do everything, and that you might have one piece of additional software for like estimating or for human resources. Typically, those ones are not well integrated for construction management software, because they're quite individual. You want to look after running your business and the key core functionality of your business with a construction management software. Safety is always a big one on the list, but quite often that will be a separate software on the outside. Our job is to find that best mix of softwares for you. If you just have one core software and maybe one additional piece outside that connects, and then ensuring that your data is flowing through APIs, or even if it has to be a CSV transfer or a connection with the Zapier or another connection hub, we can do that too. And we are always trying to find what is the best solution that's going to work specifically for your business. So we start to create these models, and this is a process that we'll take you through, and we show you when we do, we'll start to build these models for your business. Another solution, of course, is looking at an ERP. ERPs are when you start getting into larger businesses where you have a finance team and you're doing a lot of monitoring of what happens in the field with some field tools that work for operations side. One thing I did want to point out is you see there's a gray line between APAR payroll on the finance side, on that gray line. We like to ensure, of course, that you're always looking at creating controls between the field operations, and so there's approvals and control processes so that there aren't entries done in the field that affect the accounting. So even going back and looking at the model, if you have a separate, I'll go back. Didn't go back. Trying. Here. So even if you have a construction management software, and then you have an accounting software on the finance team uses, or your accountant or bookkeeper, however that's set up, there's a firewall. There's that gray line in between time tracking, job costing, fleet management, etc., that ensures that there's safety checks through the process to ensure that before you produce a bill or you send the all total labor hours or cost code tracking within an LEM, that there's a cost control check that somebody in finance checks it off, or somebody in the senior supervisor or manager in operations checks it off, that it's confirmed that that's actually what happened, details are correct, because you don't want your finance software being affected by a laborer in the field who's resting on a shovel. No offense to him, but that's not his job. He doesn't understand the implications. So having that control level between field management and finance is absolutely important. So we'll take you through tech stack modeling, looking at the different ways that your business runs and find the best for you, for your business. So as part of that solution analysis, we're going to come back, we'll create those models and create what we think is a future state, what is the best state for your business. So we'll go from what you have currently, and how do we adopt new software or rearrange the software you do have, ensure the connections are working, create a good tech stack model for your business. So in trying to understand your software needs, and we need to do an assessment, we utilize a Google form, pretty straightforward, and we want to understand the priorities within each of the different, whether it's the different software or the different functionalities that are the priority for your business. So is it mandatory? You must have this functionality within estimating, like a takeoff tool, or is it just important, secondary, nice to have, or not even needed? So that way we're able to create a really clear picture of what the software needs are, give that to the software providers. And when we do demos, we can say, look, we don't need any of these functions, but these are mandatory fields that have to be fulfilled. So that functionality, those are our priorities. We want to tick these boxes absolutely. These ones are nice to haves. They're not going to be that important to us. And then these ones we don't even need. And then the software vendor, of course, we give them the opportunity to look at all of those and show us that functionality, and then talk about what their differentiator is, their unique selling proposition. So it doesn't matter whether it's estimating or CRM or project management. We go through that same process when we're doing our solution analysis. Key to all of this is always the UX and the UI. So the UX is your user experience. We want to ensure that the software is easy to use. I've been in an organization where the software was next to impossible to navigate. We see this in a lot of different softwares, that it is not easy for, whether it's the the staff in the field utilizing it. They're having to go through too many screens. They get confused about which is this or that. So, and even foremen in the field or your staff that are entering the data into the software, you understand that it has to be easy to manage. It can't be difficult. The user interface. So the UX is user experience. When you hear this term, UI is user interface, very similar. And that also that software isn't necessarily going, one piece of software is not going to fulfill all of your needs. It's not going to be the silver bullet. It's only going to, at best, going to be do 90% of what you need it to do. And we have had clients in the past who were, you know, looking at minor functionality that probably could be solved with an Excel spreadsheet that they used once a month that the software didn't do, and they were kept looking and kept looking. It's like at some point you have to understand that not all software is made specifically for your business, and your business is unique, and there are going to be functionalities that aren't necessarily going to be tick the box for your business. So there's no silver bullet. We're going to look at trying to get something that's going to do all the core functionality best, and how do we augment that? We have evaluated literally hundreds of different softwares. This is GC software or service software, and this is a Miro board that I put together that shows if you're a general contractor or sub-trade, residential or commercial. I've positioned these different softwares into those parts of the grid so that you can see if we have a general contractor, these are probably some of the best ones for them. That doesn't mean that Procore isn't a residential general contractor. That doesn't mean that Procore isn't a good fit. It's just that it's the best fit for a commercial general contractor. It doesn't mean that Procore won't be a good fit for a sub trade on the residential side, but it's the best fit for a commercial general contractor. So this is one way that we help categorize our software, but we also have tons of other softwares that we have looked at. So there's different estimating, different time tracking, accounting, safety, ERP. You can see that we have different categories. And in these categories, we have literally, like I said, we have looked at hundreds. I think in these 3 screens, you can see that we've got close to 200 different softwares that we have evaluated and understand how they work and what they work best for, how they're going to best fit your business. So we categorize them. It doesn't, like I say, these categories I've shown you don't necessarily mean that that's going to be the end all be all in that category, but we've taken a look at them. We understand them. I went through that a little quick, apologize. So next, as we build this roadmap, and we've come to a solution analysis, and we've done some tech stack modeling, and now we've decided on which software. We do data mapping. So we need to understand which softwares you're utilizing and how they connect. So how it works through how the data flows through the system back and forth. So how the estimating software works with accounting, and we create detailed data maps so that we can understand what data has to be transferred between each different software and how it works with your workflows. And it's important, to understand how that data flows through your business to ensure that everything's being captured, obviously. Part of the roadmap is obviously your adoption planning. We look at a digital adoption strategy as a roadmap for who, when, how, and what your company will adopt. And then we lay it out by functionality and what will be set up as we go along. So on the front end, you create the process mapping and the data mapping. So we have a plan and a clear workflow how it's going to be managed. And then we get the purchasing of the software that happens usually in a fairly short window. And then we look at a change management plan. So that's the third step in understanding how your your business works and creating that plan. It's a lot like you wouldn't start building a house, a residential house, without a set of plans. We try and help all of our clients understand that you can go and buy software off the shelf, the same way I could go and rent an excavator. I know how to run an excavator, and I could bring it to a job site and start digging a hole. And then you'd soon realize that you don't know exactly how wide the hole should be, how deep it should be, how it should be sloped. And I come from excavating, so this is my analogy. You need a set of plans. You need to understand exactly where the footprint of the building is, where the footings are going, where the connection to the sewer line is going in and out of the house. You have to have plans. You wouldn't start building a house without plans. So we really encourage all of our clients to understand that we can help them build plans so that it's clear that you have system planning, software purchase, and then change management plan on how you train everybody, how you adopt the software, how you deploy the software, how you configure it, how important it is to create that change management plan, and how you roll it out. It's important to know. Next, we then detail your core workflows as we onboard you. So understanding standard operating procedures and workflows. We take you through a process so that all of your core workflows through your business, we have a clearly laid out visual plan that helps you understand exactly how the software works for your business, so that nothing's missed, that you understand how to best configure the software. From there, we look at understanding the tech stack modeling. So here's a more detailed view of a tech stack and a data map. So all the different layers of software, contract management, human resources, everything through your entire workflow, all your different data mapping, your workflow mapping, we map that out so that it's really clear how your business is going to function. So service and support. Once we've got that change management plan, you've adopted the software, we move into service and support. So that's administration training and the software setup. It all runs in parallel. It's key that it'll be the people operating the software are going to be the ones that set the software up. You can't have someone in IT set it up for you and then, okay, how do I run this? No, it's best that you take the data mapping, the individuals that are going to be operating the software and doing the data entry on a day-to-day basis, they're the ones that need to set it up. And so they get the training running in parallel at the same time as it's being set up. That's, best practices obviously are very important to understand how to utilize the software in the best way. Finding those champions within your organization, and then they are going to hand that down to those what we call agents, and then individuals within the organization that are going to train groups of people. It's important to identify those groups, how they lay out, who's going to train who needs to understand what functionality, so that it's rolled out within your organization logically, and it isn't going to be a complete willy-nilly of just, yeah, we'll have a big training session for everybody at the beginning of the month. Having a clear training plan is important, and who those individuals are that are going to be taking each part of the business through the training and who trains who is really important. One tactic used with one company we worked with was finding the young guy on the crew who understood, who was best with software. He might not have been the supervisor or the foreman, but the one who understood the software within that crew best. You always knew that kid was really diligent. Let's use him. He can train everybody else. They can go to him, and not having to go up to somebody to ask about how do you input my labor hours, or how do I log in some details of the equipment that I use that day. If you can go to somebody that's a peer, or even someone who's working underneath you, you can ask that person. It's sometimes easier. So those tactics are important to help roll it out, because we know that it's a common challenge among contractors. They say, oh, my team is never going to adopt it. They're not going to use it. So finding those tactics and those strategies to make sure that your team are going to adopt it. We've worked with a lot of companies and helped them with those strategies. As part of the service and support, they need to have tools to fix their, if they have any questions, if they have any problems with the software. What does that look like if they're going to get support, like I say, from that person within? But if it's more than that, going to the YouTube channel, going to online resources, or setting up a self-service user training. So creating a website for your business that they can go to. They can find the resources all in one place. Okay, this is where you're going to go to if you need to understand how to input a new company into the system, because person's on holiday usually does that. So you can go and there's whether it's a YouTube channel from the software provider, whether it's online text support on the software provider's website, or if it's somebody within the company that you can call. Having one central location for all training and having a network of people or resources for your staff to understand how to best use the software or answer any questions is important, and we help set that up. And that's part of our ongoing support and service. And then, of course, getting into monitoring and analysis, we look at ongoing resources from our company to help you do monthly, quarterly, yearly ROI calculations to understand how well individual pieces of software are working, if you're getting a return on the investment on that. So you may have purchased one type of software, let's say safety. How many interactions are you getting from that? How much data are you collecting from that? Is that not being fully utilized? How much are you paying for it? Can we better utilize it? Can we renegotiate with the software provider? Ongoing ROI on all of your software is important. And then, of course, your staff may be upskilled enough that they understand software well enough that we can upgrade to software that's more comprehensive, that integrates. So all of these questions along the process, it's important to look at those to make improvements in the software. We undergo a software ROI inside our business every few months, every 6 months. Look at all of our different softwares using. Are we utilizing it well enough? Is it providing value? That's a natural process. It's the same you would do with your piece of equipment. Like, I've got this piece of equipment sitting there. We need to do an ROI calculation on it. And is it time to sell it, or is it time to upgrade? Those are standards. So we help with that. So that's kind of the overall look at the client success cycle. Let me just take a look at the chat here. Someone's asking, what's an API? That's a good question. An API, it hasn't been answered, or has it? Okay, API. An API is an integration between one software and another that happens automatically. You can set it up to push or to pull. Like on your phone, you can connect that with, there's all the apps, they have an API. I can't remember what API means. That I usually leave that to the tech guys. Somebody's going to type it in the chat if I'm lucky, but basically it's an automatic connection. It's a type of code that's created to ensure that two softwares that are separate from different software providers can connect. Some application programming interface. There you go. Alariza, thank you. And APIs are, that's one way to connect software, but there's also CSV transfers, meaning an Excel spreadsheet. You can set it up with the specific columns and then send it into another software as needed, and then it downloads it into their database because the columns are correctly sorted. Having that kind of transfers is a more manual transfer, but APIs can happen automatically, whether it's constantly whether it's once a day at a certain time, or sometimes it's at a click, but it's a background integration. Any other questions here? All good? Well, I know I ripped through that pretty fast, but I know everybody's time is important. We at the Net Effect are passionate about helping contractors find the right software that works for their business, helping you understand your software better, helping to create those workflows and automations throughout your business processes so that there's less data entry, there's more information at your fingertips, there's more accounting of what you're doing on a day-to-day. So when I say accounting, I mean how many hours are tracked to a specific task within some of the work that you're doing. So framing, back framing, what your company is doing on a day-to-day basis, ensuring that you're efficient and accounting of your tasks and of your staff, of your operations. That's very important to understand that information, so that you can be more efficient and run your business more profitably. The whole idea that software works for you, you don't work for the software, is important. Finding software that is going to do the tasks that you need it to do quickly and efficiently, that's what we're looking for. And then, of course, there's AI and the discussion around AI. I didn't even touch on that because that's obviously an important thing that we've talked about. We'll have other information about that. You can touch base with us. We can help you with that. We are our company is nationwide, North America wide. We are a remote company. We can help you online anytime. We have 9 to 5 East Coast to West Coast, not 24 hours a day per se, but we can help you with your problems. Doesn't matter where you are in North America. What else questions do we have here? CSV. Oh yeah, we got that. And a reminder that yes, a recording of this, we'll send that to you in the next few days after we get it loaded down and edited. And thanks everybody for attending. I appreciate your time, and I hope this better helps you understand what it is the Net Effect does, how we do it, and the process we take you through, and how we can help. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly, tim@theneteffect.ca. Or you can find, text me on my phone. I'm happy to answer questions and help you out. And thanks for joining, and have a great rest of your week.